Okay.
Hello.
Okay.
Cool.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Welcome to Star Trek Asterisk, the weekly podcast where we watch Star Trek and talk about it.
Hooray.
I am Steve. You can find me at Lord Steve on Twitter.
I'm Zach. I now have a desk over there
Yes. That's where his desk. I mean, he still sleeps over there, but his desk is over here.
because I haven't moved the desk yet. That's all. It's
Yeah.
purely out of laziness.
Anyway,
Anyway.
today we watched Star Trek 4: The Voyage Home.
Star Trek IV.
Yes.
Yes.
Which incidentally is actually the only Star Trek that has a Star Trek movie that has an IV in it. Anyway, this is the one in which we are coming. Okay, some backstory. In Star Trek 3, they destroyed the Enterprise and got into a Klingon vessel and went to Vulcan. So now they're on Vulcan with this Klingon vessel, and they know that they're in some pretty deep trouble because they disobeyed orders, they destroyed the Enterprise, they tally up a total of 9 different what do you call them, regulation charges. I don't know.
The point is, they're in deep shit
Yeah, yeah,
because they blew up stuff. They did stuff they weren't supposed to do.
yeah.
They broke stuff.
They have a total of 9 different charges against them,
Yes.
and so, but eventually they have to go home. So Kirk is like, okay, you guys know we're in some deep shit, but
Let's go home anyway and just
let's
deal
go.
with it.
So they jump in their Klingon vessel, and meanwhile, back on Earth, there's this huge. You know the lead in the center of a pencil that you don't ever see unless you like take away all the wood. It looks just like that, except huge.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
There was something about huge and wood, and that's as far as I got.
Okay. This thing comes in and knocks out the power for a ship, and knocks out the power in the space station over Earth, and then it causes massive like weather anomalies on Earth. So everyone in on Earth is running on reserve power. The sun is being blocked by the weather anomalies, so they can't last more than what, like a few weeks without the sun.
Not even that long.
Not even that long.
I'd say they wouldn't be able to last a few days without the sun.
Yeah. So
Because you got to think, a lot of stuff is solar powered by this point.
true, true. So they're in some pretty deep trouble too. So they have to
And the temperature change.
right, the temperature change.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it might not even last a couple of days.
So they somehow have to find out a way to communicate with this huge probe that's over Earth. But the only transmissions it's making are these weird, scratchy noises that no one can decipher. Excuse me. So Kirk and the crew come back with their Klingon ship, and they're warned ahead of time because the Klingon, or I'm sorry, the Klingon, the Federation president decides to send out a distress signal. So they pick up the distress signal. They figure out what's going on. They pick up the transmissions from the probe. They analyze it and discover, oh hey, this sounds a lot like whale. Apparently Dory's on the ship.
Yes.
So
Well, that's why they just keep swimming.
yeah, right. So she knows all about it, and but it's a specific type of whale. It's a humpback whale, which went extinct.
Yes.
Went extinct.
Was hunted into extinction.
Yes, right. So bad times all around. The only way they can find a humpback whale is to go to the past. Now, anyone who's familiar with Star Trek history would probably say that the easiest way to go about doing this is to go to the Guardian of Tomorrow and say, "Hey, Guardian, I need to go to around about 1986 and pick up a humpback whale or two." But that's not what happens.
No, they're there and they freak out and they're like, "Oh God, we have to slingshot. Do this now!"
Yeah, so they take the most dangerous way out and they do a slingshot around the Earth, or, I mean around the sun, to go back in time. And a big subplot here is that Spock is still coming to learn about himself and about Vulcan history, and he's he's making the calculations for this, and so they end up back in time. During the process, Kirk kind of passes out and has this weird dream where heads are growing out of smoke and there's a big whale and stuff, and it kind of looks all CG and early 80s CG.
Mid 80s.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure. Mid 80s CG.
Yeah.
Anyway, so turns out the time travel program that Spock creates automatically activates the braking thrusters, which means that it's stopped. So when Kirk wakes up, they're okay.
They're okay, and they're in 1986.
Yeah. They look down at the Earth, and it's interesting to note that Spock deduces that they're around the late 20th century by measuring the pollution
In the atmosphere.
in the
Yeah.
atmosphere. So you can already tell this is going to be a big hippie environmental thing.
Yeah.
So they turn on the cloak so no one can detect them. They land in this big a park or whatever, scare off a couple of trash men, and then start walking around San Francisco. You want to take it from here?
Sure. So Fred, I mean Kirk goes, "Let's split up, gang." And so they form three groups. So Kirk and Spock go off to find the whales. They send Uhura and Chekhov to figure out where they can find the nuclear vessels so they can get the energy from it to use to charge the engines, since the dilithium crystals are, bum. And the rest of our gang goes off and they have to go find ways to get this stuff to build this tank.
Yes.
So while Bones and Scotty go find the materials for this, Sulu goes and wants to fly a plane, wants to fly a helicopter.
Yes.
So there you go, big deal. Everybody's gone and doing their things. So Spock and Kirk go to the aquarium and they meet Jillian, who is a marine biologist, and she has these two whales there, these two humpback whales that were born in captivity, George and Gracie. And she's taking them on the tour, and they sneak into the tour, and they're talking back and forth, and blah, 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 blah. And then Spock starts swimming with the whales, and mind melds with Gracie, and oh, by the way, Gracie's pregnant. And it's like, oh, God, how did you know? And, they get in trouble for him being in the whale tank, and they leave. They're walking along. She finds them, offers them a ride, and they're all acting weird to her because, they're not from around here.
Mm-hmm.
So they go and get in the truck with her. She's giving them a ride, and Spock mentions that Gracie's pregnant. She's like, "Nobody knows that. How do you know that?" She's like, "Gracie." He's like, "Gracie knows that." And they're like, "What?" So they go drop Spock off down in the park so her and Kirk can have dinner, and he can talk about the prospect of getting these whales from her.
And do what he does best.
And
talk to women.
Talk to women. So he goes and tries to make a deal with her because these whales are about to get released back out into the wild. They don't have the budget to keep them, so the Institute has to release them. She's very upset about this. She doesn't know what to do because these whales are her life, and she knows that they won't survive out in the wild. So Kirk says, "Come on, give them to me. I'll take them. I'll give them a good home, and they'll be safe." So she's like, "Why should I trust you? Who the hell are you anyway?" And he's like, "Okay, long story short, I'm from the future, and I got to take them back." And she's like,
Oh,
"Oh,
well,
well,
okay.
okay." She's like, "So what are you, from outer space?" And he's like, "No, I'm from Iowa. I just work in outer space." She's like, "Well, I knew outer space was coming into it at some point." So she thinks he's crazy. She goes and drops him back off in the park. And then as she's driving away, she can see out of the corner of her eye the transporter beam that beams him back onto the ship. And she's like, "Wah!" She does a double take. So in the meantime, Chekhov and Uhura have found a nuclear vessel, and they have to beam aboard to pull the energy, to gather the energy from the reactor.
Do you
So
remember why?
huh?
You remember why?
Why what?
Why they have to get the energy?
Because the dilithium crystals are bummed.
Oh, right.
Yeah, yeah. So they beam aboard the ship to get the energy. So great. So they get in there and they're doing their thing, and they gather all the stuff they need. And okay, they get ready to beam back. Well, their signal's kind of shitty because they're inside the middle of a ship. So Uhura is finally able to get beamed back with the energy. Well, Chekhov's trying to call back, and in the meantime, on the ship, these naval officers are noticing there's power fluctuations. They realize, oh my God, there's somebody in here. So they catch the Rusky, which really sucks because it's a nuclear vessel in the 1980s, and there's a Russian guy on board. So he's basically fucked.
Whoops.
And so they take him and they capture him. They're interrogating him and they're being sarcastic. And he doesn't understand sarcasm. He doesn't understand sarcasm at all. He's terrible at it. So he finally, is able to. He distracts them long enough to run away, and then he falls and hurts himself and critically injures himself.
Yeah.
To the point where they have to take him to the hospital. Mm-hmm. And if the doctors of the 20th century get a hold of him, he won't live. So Bones is like, well, shit, I got to go fix him now. Mm-hmm. So they devise this plan to sneak into the hospital, fix him up, get him out, which luckily Bones is, he's the best surgeon in the damn universe.
Right.
So he has all this medical knowledge. He argues with the surgeon there. And Kirk locks their whole team up, so they can't interfere. And then Bones gets Chekhov up. They sneak him out. The police run after him because, hey, there's a guy, but you had a girl. And there's this whole chase scene of them through the hospital.
Meanwhile, Bones gives the woman a new kidney.
Oh, yeah. He goes, he walks by this old woman, and she's terrible shape. She's laying there, like, in a respirator with a tent over and everything. And he goes, what's wrong with you? And she goes, I lost a kidney. I'm on dialysis. He goes, dialysis? What is this, a dark ages? Here, take 2 of these and call me in the morning. And ta-da, magic new kidneys.
Doctor gave me a pill and I grew a new kidney.
Doctor gives you pills, you grow kidneys. You can't explain that. So they beam back to where the ship is, and they get everybody aboard, and okay, things are great. And in the meantime, Bones and Scotty had gone to the plexiglass plant,
Right.
gotten a custom order of plexiglass because they gave the guy there, the plant manager, the scientist there, the formula for transparent aluminum. So they have all this plexiglass now that Sulu is flown in, and they're lowering it into place in the cargo bay so they can create this aquarium. Well, Jillian drives up because she gets to the Institute that morning and the whales are gone.
Yeah.
They've disappeared, and it turns out they let them go without telling anyone because they didn't want a big media spectacle, and they thought it would be easier on her if they just let them go. And she didn't even get to say goodbye. So she drives out to the park to find Kirk, runs into the ship, realizes that there's an invisible ship, and she's yelling for Kirk. Kirk comes out and says, "Well, look, just tell me where the whales. Tell me the frequency so I can find them. I can find their radio chips, and we'll save them." And she's like, "Well, here it is." And he's like, "Okay, thank you. We'll take care of it." He starts to beam up. And she goes, "Surprise!" Jumps on him, and they both beam aboard. And he's like, "Ah."
Well,
She's so clingy. Huh?
yeah, yeah.
So they fly out, and they start heading toward the Bering Sea, where they were released. And that was where they were released, wasn't it?
I don't remember.
I don't know.
I was
Anyway,
just gonna say Pacific Ocean, but
well, whatever. So they fly out there. They get a lock on them, and there's a whaling ship out there, and they're about to hunt them down, shoot their harpoon, and ding! It hits the cloaked ship, and the ship decloaks, and they're like, "Ah!" And they run away. And so they beam aboard 2 humpback whales in a water enough to have around them inside this tank. So roughly about 400 tons of stuff.
yes.
And then they warp out of there, and they have to go slingshot again. But there's so much more weight now, and they don't know if they can accelerate enough, and I don't know, they might get caught in the sun's gravity, but Spock gives it his best guess, and they make it back okay.
Which is a breakthrough for Spock.
It is, because he a little bit of humanity. Mm-hmm. It's nice. Which he's been very Vulcan since since he was re-given his Katra. So anyway, so they get back, and hello, the probulator is still there. And so they lose power, they crash, and they crash into the ocean, and Kirk is able to swim down and open the cargo bay and do the emergency release to open it up and let the whales out. Probe talks to the whales talk to the probe starts to go away, everything goes back to normal. Hooray! Then they get court-martialed. Because let's not forget, they disabled the Excelsior, stole the Enterprise, blew up the Enterprise, killed a bunch of Klingons, and now they are in deep shit. So we're really back at where we were at the beginning of the movie, just with 2 whales and a marine biologist.
And with the knowledge that Kirk has literally just saved everyone on the planet.
He has. It's true. So they're like, okay, so you guys are terrible. You did all of these awful things. Kirk, you were the one in command, so you should be most ashamed of all. So you are getting demoted to captain, and you're going to do the one thing that you really should be doing, and that's piloting a starship. And Kirk's like, okay. So they're like, okay, fine. So we're getting a ship now. That's great. So they leave space dock, and they're heading back out to dry dock to see, or no, they're leaving Earth to get to space dock.
Yeah.
And they're like, great, we're gonna probably get some piece of crap. And Sulu's like, I hope it's the Excelsior. And Scotty goes, the Excelsior is just a bucket of bolts. And they're like, blah, 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 blah. And then it comes around, and there's the Excelsior. But wait, no! It's not just the Enterprise. It's the NCC 1701A. And they get on the ship, and Kirk goes, let's see what she's got. And end of movie.
Hooray!
Everyone live happily ever after.
I think this is the happiest Star Trek movie ever.
Yes, because there are whales.
Exactly, yeah. Whales are happy.
You can't not like whales. If you don't like whales, then you're a jerk.
Even the people who hunt them like them.
I know.
They're like, well, I guess I got to cut this thing up now, but I really liked it.
Yeah, see? See?
Yeah, this I mentioned in while we were doing the thing that this was my favorite movie of all of the Star Trek movies until I grew up and kind of matured in my taste of movies and came to see Wrath of Khan as the greatest movie. But this is still really, really high up there. Like, I think it might be close to a tie with Wrath of Khan for me.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people don't like it for whatever reason.
Probably because there's time travel and people don't like time travel.
Yeah, I don't like that people don't like time travel.
I'm sorry, Back to the Future is my favorite movie of all time.
Exactly. Back to the Future, um, obviously this movie, and Star Trek 2009.
Yeah,
These are all the best movies ever.
that Star Trek 2009 is that movie wouldn't exist. There's an entire like skewed universe that would not exist if not for time travel
Exactly. And there are people who
and one
hate
crazy
that.
Romulan.
Well, yeah. And there are people who hate that.
That's true. But that's another story for another day.
Right.
So, as far as this movie's concerned, I love it.
Yes.
I do. I used to not like it as much, but it's grown on me. Mostly because these are not the hell your whales, a double dumbass on you, and Admiral, there be whales here.
Yes. This is the best catchline movie.
It is. It really is.
Mostly because of Spock learning colorful metaphors.
That's right.
And I mentioned too that it's a big deal when the profanity in Star Trek gets bumped up a notch. In the original series, they weren't allowed to say anything.
No, they weren't.
The first movie, I think they said "damn."
Yeah, I
At
think
one
so.
point.
But like, look at this one. This movie is littered with colorful metaphors. They're
Exactly.
everywhere. They're all just laying out in the streets of San Francisco on the sidewalk, and they're picking them up. The
Like
only person at this point who's really uttered any sort of obscenities is Bones. But
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's come on.
Yeah, but it's like literally it's focused on when more swear words are coming into it, because in this one, Spock is saying hell all over the place,
Yeah,
and then Star Trek Generations comes along, and you get this great moment where the camera zooms in on Data while they're falling down into the planet, and he says, "Oh shit."
yep.
And it's literally like this is where Star Trek is now. We can say
Right.
shit.
We can say shit in Star Trek now, like we've moved up a level. You know, Star Trek dialogue has leveled up when you can say shit.
Oh my goodness. Star Trek sequel, we're gonna say the F word or something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I am counting on Kirk to drop the F bomb in the untitled Star Trek sequel.
No, it's titled now.
What's it called?
Into Darkness.
Into Darkness.
Star Trek: Into Darkness.
I like it.
Yes.
I want one of those.
Anyway, let's see. What else about this movie is there? It's just really great.
It is. It's a great flick.
This is something I mentioned before earlier,
it's
but
cute.
after this movie came out, it was literally the most successful Star Trek movie until Star Trek 2009 came out, which became more successful.
It's true.
Because of that, they were allowed to go on and create the next generation. So we have this movie to thank for, the cast of Picard and Data and Worf and all that.
According to the great Wikipedia, the budget for Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home was $21 million, and in box office receipts, it brought home a whopping $133 million.
Nice.
It made over 6 times its budget.
Awesome.
And that's not something you see much these days.
Correct. Yeah.
That's not something you see much ever.
And I don't know how much all the rest of the movies cost, but it seems to me like this would cost less because they're going on location instead of building a whole bunch of sets.
Well, yeah, and now Search for Spock, there was a lot of location because there was a lot of outsidey stuff.
True.
So that the budget for that was only 16, but Wrath of Khan I imagine was pretty high, and according to this, no, it was only 11.2.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
But
Well.
anyway, it was very successful.
it was awesome.
Yeah. So whether or not you like it,
We
America
do.
loved it.
That's right.
Surprisingly, it wasn't really that effective overseas.
No, but I think there are other things that have to do with that because, I mean, let's face it, there was the whole... They did have the thing about, Chekhov being Russian and blah, blah, blah.
True.
So that probably muted it overseas a lot.
And the Search for Spock was released directly to video
True.
overseas.
True.
I think that's it.
Sounds good to me.
I mean, it makes it seem like there's not much to say about this movie, but it's just that good.
The movie
You
the movie speaks for itself.
exactly,
It really does.
yeah. So, if you have any questions or comments about the movie or about the movies, about TV shows, Star Trek,
About us.
or about us,
Or about our lovely couch.
then you can call us. Hailing frequencies are open at
513 asterisk. That's 513-278-7475. Call
Call us.
today.
Call us about anything.
Call us about everything.
Yes.
Call us for nothing. Call us and leave us dirty messages on the answering machine. We don't care.
Call us day or night. No person will answer, but you can leave a message,
Yeah.
and we will get back to you.
Yeah.
I guess I should bring up the schedule
Yes.
change.
Yes.
I did last time, but we should keep on reminding you that starting or at the end when we're done with the original series movies.
We have 2 more weeks.
Yes.
We have to watch 5, The Final Frontier, and 6, The Undiscovered Country. After that, we're on hiatus until November the 9th, I believe it is.
Yeah, we'll basically be taking 4 weeks
Yes.
off, right?
Yes, you're right. 4
Yeah.
weeks.
Yeah, and
Then we'll come back the following week on Friday, not
Fridays.
Thursday. Star Trek Asterisk will resume the first full week of November on Friday, November the 9th. So mark your calendars and make it so.
yes, the next generation will be on Fridays,
The-
and the rest.
Right. Here on Gilligan's Isle.
All right, we're done.
All right.
Until next time, remember to help control the tribble population.
Have your tribble spayed or neutered.
Live long and prosper.
Goodbye, everybody.